Hello everyone, welcome to CodeGrad, and today in this session we'll discuss the implementation part of the file handling. I hope you guys understood much of the context during the slide presentation, and we'll start with the file handling. First of all, we'll mention the topic name, that is the file handling. Okay, I'll start with an example how to create and write to a file. So we have with open, suppose example one.txt, and we have to write some content in the txt file. So I will use w and I'll say add file. Okay. After that, I will type file dot write, and I will type some text here. Hello. This is the first line. This is the first line. Okay. And I will add another line here. File dot write. I will type, and this is the second line. This is the second line. Okay. Now when I run this cell, one file will be generated here. Hello, this is the first line, and this is the second line. In this way, we can create a file and also write in. Okay. Now, second, we'll see how we can read the content from the file. Second is read from a file. So we know we have a file name example1.txt. I want to read this file. So what I'll type with open the file name, that is the example1.txt. And previously when we had to write some content in it, so we use w, now we'll use r. Okay, and as file, and then I will say content is equal to file dot read. And if I want to print this, and I will say print file content, and I'll mention the variable, that is the content. So this is the file content in our example one.txt. In this way, we can read a file. You just need to mention the file name and the R, that is to read. Now, third one is I want to append to a existing file. Now, suppose the example one.txt, I have to add another one more line. So for that, we'll say append to a file. Okay, with open, we'll mention the file name example one.txt, and I will mention now I want to append. So I will use a, and I have file, and I will say file dot write. Now what I will write here, adding a third line. Okay. Now when I run this, the third line has been append to the existing file. So when I open it, so we can see adding a third line has been added. Now what if I want to read file line by line? Okay, so for that, fourth one is read file line by line, line by line. I want to print each line individually. So what I'll type with open example one.txt, and I want to read it to R as file. You guys can use anything here. You can use only F also instead of file. So then I will use the for loop for line file when line, and I will make it line dot strip. Okay, so we got the each line, and we can see we have segregated the three lines into three different ways. So this is the first one. Hello, this is the first line, and this is the second line, adding a third line. Now what if I want to check if file exists or not? So for that, next is check if file exists, and we will use using OS module. So we will do both over here. File name and say example one dot txt. The file name basically if you want to check if it exists or not. So if os dot path dot exit and I'll mention the file name, and I will print file name exit. Okay. Or else what I'll type print file name does not exist. When I run this cell, it says it exists as it is present in our model. So that is the way to check if a file exists or not in our directory. Now, how we can delete a file, right? Permanent. Keep in mind, we are deleting a file permanent. So fix this. Delete a file. We'll use this else block. So if os dot path dot exist, and I'll mention the file name. That is the example one dot txt, and I'll mention I want to remove it. Was dot remove and the file name, that is the example one dot txt, and then I will type print file is deleted, or else I will type print if file is not found, then file does not exist. When I run this, we see file is deleted. If we check here now and I refresh it, so you can see you don't see the example one.txt. In this way, we can delete a file permanently. Now next, we'll see how we can handle file and handle file not found error gratefully. Next is handle file not found error gratefully. Okay, so I will use the try block to try and accept will use. I will try with open the file name, which is not actually there. I'll say anything like non-existent.txt, and I want to read it as file. I will say print file dot read. Okay. Now this is the part where we try to print the file or the text present in the file. But what if it's not? But what if it is not present? So we'll use the except block. Except file not found error, and then I will print. Hope the file does not exist. Does not exist. Okay. If I run this cell, as this file is not present in our directory, so actually the exit block will work and will print if the file does not exist. So how we could write a list to a file? Next is write a list to a file. First of all, I'll mention a list. So my lines variable. So and the first item will be first item. Then would be the second item. Then would be the third item. Okay. Now this is the list, and I want to write the list to the file. So what I'll do with open, I'll mention the file name, that is list data.txt, and I will use write w as file, and then I'll write file dot write line, and then I'll mention the line value. So new txt file is present now. So we got first item, second item, and third item. This way we can write a list to a file. Now next is, I hope you guys are understanding, and you guys can create different examples here to write. Now I have used the lines. You can add more items to this. For file not found error, you can try another example. We can delete a file, create a file, write some text in it, and use it. to delete a file, check if the file exists or not, create multiple files and type the file name here and see if it exists or not. How we could read file line by line, append to a file, create a sample file and take the file and add some text to it and try to append it. By R we can read the file, and this by W we can write to a new file. So that is the way. Now next is read all lines from a list. Okay, so next is read all lines into a list. Okay. So I will open this file first of all, and I will read the data, and I will try to list the data into the list. So for that, we need to mention the file name with open the file name, that is the list data, the previous file, list data.txt, and I will try to read as file lines is equal to f dot. First we were using the read only. Now we will use file dot read line. Okay. When I print this, see how it looks. Print lines as list and mention the variable, that is the line. So we got the items in the list. That is the first item, second item, and third item. Now how we could create a file and store user input. So next is create a file and store user input. Okay. Suppose I'll mention a variable name user text, and I'll mention input, enter something to save in a file. Enter something to save in a file. I'll create a new file. So with open user input. This is the new file name, user input.txt, and I'll make sure I want to write something in there. So W and file, and then I will say file.write and the user text, and then I will print your input has been saved. Okay. Uh, Suppose I want to type hello, how are you? And if I run this and I check, a new file has been created, user input, and what I've typed, hello, how are you? You will see it has been saved here in this file, user input dot txt. Now next is how we could count any words in a file. I want to count how many words are present in that file. So for that, next is count words in a file. You do with open. I will use the previous one, that is the list data txt file. So list data dot txt, and I will say I want to read it. So R as file, and I will get this in variable content. So file dot read, and then I'll say words equal to content dot split. Okay, and then I will count the words here. Print word count and mention the length of word. So count of words present here in the digital.txt is 6. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in this way we can count words in a file. Now, how we could copy file content to another file? Next is copy file content to another file. Okay. Now for that, suppose I want to copy this content, that is the content in the list data txt, and I want to copy this content into another file. So what I will do with open, first the file name which content has to be copied. So list data.txt, and I want to read it. So R as source. Okay, this is our source, and then we'll make another one open. Now the file name where we have to copy this original content, the content from list data.txt. So I will mention the file name I have copy list data, copy list data.txt, and I need to write here. Okay, so W and I'll make a return target. Okay. And I'll say target dot write, and I'll mention source dot read, and I'll print file copy. When I run this, you can see another file is being created named as copy list data.txt. And when I open this, so the content from the list data.txt has been copied here in the another txt file. So in this way, we can copy file content to another file. Now we'll see how we could check the file size. Right. Next is check file size. For that, we mention file size. File size equal to os.path dot get size. I'll mention the file name. So that is a list data dot txt, and then I will print size of file. That is the file size, and I'll mention byte. Though so the size of the file is 34 bytes of our list data dot txt. Now how we could add line number while reading. Okay, 14th is how to add line number while reading with open. We'll mention the file name, that is the list data dot txt, and I'll mention I want to read it to R, and I have 5. Okay. So for idx is the index and comma line in enumerate, I'll mention the file, and I'll say start at 1, and I'll print line, then I'll mention the index, and then I'll mention line dot width. Okay. When I run this, so we got the line number while reading it. So for line 1, we have first item, line 2, second item, and line 3, third item. This way we can add line number. Previously when we were reading this, we were just getting it as line. Hello, this is the first line, this is the second line, adding the third line. If you want to add number according to the line number, can use the enumerate and mention the index, and we can get the line number while reading the particular file. Now next, if you want to write a dictionary to a file. Okay, suppose next is write a dictionary to a file. I'll mention the variable data, suppose name, mention suppose Virat, and next key is suppose age, and value would be suppose 35, city. The next key I'll mention Delhi or Mumbai. Okay. Now this is my dictionary. I want to write this dictionary to a new file. So as previously what we did with open, and I'll mention the new file name, that is the dict data dot txt, and I want to write it to w as file, right? And using the for loop, I will for key comma value in data dot item. Then I'll say file dot write app key and value. When I open the file, so we got name Virat, age 35, and city Mumbai. So we have converted the dictionary into the data that we can read and we can use in the txt file. That is the way we can do it while handling the dictionary file. Now we have finished with the implementation part of the file handling. I hope you guys understood. For getting more hands-on, I need you to practice more on your own Google Colab. or the VS Code or any platform used for Python. And the more you practice, the more you will get answer on the particular topic. So see you in the next session with the new topic. Till then, bye.